Okay, we'll call Personnel Committee meeting together.
That's what I thought.
Have a roll call.
Sure, Mr. Chairman, Ethier,
Here?
Coon, Drake, Grimm,
Here.
Ray Joyce, Lakakis,
Yes.
Reedy, Simpson,
Here.
and Ward.
Here.
7 present, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, we got enough form, we're
We
all
do.
set. Previous minutes. Make a motion, second. Okay, unanimous. Pass them up. First resolution.
All right, items 2 and 3, the public hearing for local LP and local LP are both tabled at request of sponsor. We're gonna switch to number 4, which is the sheriff's item about providing a limited ratification of the residency requirement for employees of Albany County.
Yes, Sheriff, thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me. So, resolution number 37 in 2022, I asked to consider out-of-county applicants for various positions, shortage of qualified candidates. That resolution, I know there's another resolution out there for everybody, but that resolution expires December 31 of 2023. And I know that we had some chatter over the last year and a half or so about the out-of-county resolution and authorizing people. I guess there hasn't been too much movement on that, so what I'm asking for is for an exemption of having to hire from within the county. We had a deputy sheriff exam on September 9. There were a little over 100 applicants signed up, and I'm told less than half showed up. I'm told less than half showed up. As I've mentioned in the prior meeting, I have 21 vacancies right now. We're not getting any slower. We're only getting busier. So I really need to continue to widen my pool of candidates. And having the ability to go outside the county it's necessary.
Guys, take it out.
Why don't you tell them? Walk over and
Hey,
tell
Bob.
them. Very simple.
So I guess what I'm
Any questions for the
asking for is if you could consider, I'd like a permanent exemption, quite honestly. I mean, I'm looking for police, I'm looking for COs, dispatchers, paramedics, EMTs, emergency management staff, let alone just clerical help in general.
Right. It's something we got to address down the road, because that was a good policy several years ago. When the
Agreed.
executives were hiring commissioners from outside the county. It was never meant for the way it's being enforced now. That was the intention back then. No. Any questions for the sheriff?
I
Oh,
have
yeah,
a
but-
question for council. If we gave it the extension, and then we voted for everybody to be exempt from this rule for a certain amount of time with a sunset, I believe, why then do we have, is this necessary? Or does this still, don't the sheriff's people still fall under the next rule that we made?
Yes, but that expires in next summer. So in the meantime, the sheriff has noticed an issue with staffing and reached out to be proactive. So he's looking to start the conversation now, is my understanding.
Yes.
Yes.
So it doesn't negate anything?
Nope,
Extend his
because
only?
if there was a change in a permanent residency requirement or lack thereof, that could be done separate and apart from what. But he and his staff are still covered under the one that expires in next, I believe, August.
Any other questions for the sheriff?
Yeah, so,
Go ahead.
so we have, so we passed in August of '22, I think, a 2-year moratorium on everybody for these residency requirements.
Correct.
And the idea was, if I remember that legislation correctly, we were gonna get a report within 90 days before the sunset of that in August of '24, where all the different department heads were supposed to kind of come back to us and say, here's how that either has helped or hasn't helped with the hiring process. So you're now asking though for, and I'm coming from a place of general hostility toward the residency requirement. You're asking for just a permanent removal of that requirement.
Correct.
For your department now.
Correct. And I understand that I've got kind of redundant out-of-county resolutions going here, but I also had my calendar pop up to basically give me fair warning that my resolution was going to expire at the end of this year. And Rebecca explained to me that you're still covered under the global resolution for the county, and I understood that, but I also know there hasn't been too much talk about it, and it's something that I need to continue to do. I understand that the other one expires in the summer, but I just want to continue the conversation. I'd love to be exempted from it overall. If you want to do the entire county, awesome. I'm focused on the sheriff's office. I have a recruitment issue. I cannot find enough qualified individuals, and I really don't want to dumb down my standards just to say that I'm hiring from within.
Can I?
Sure, go ahead.
Other than I think you said that there had been some administrations of civil service tests, and the number of people signing up to take it had been low. Do you have any sort of either anecdotal or do you hear from people that they would potentially be interested in coming to work for the sheriff's office in some capacity, but for this residency requirement?
I do, as a matter of fact, and we try to explain to them that, you're taking a chance about uprooting your family, or even having a very long, lengthy commute, right? Or uprooting your family on hopes that, within the next 8-10 months, we get it lifted. And I explained to them, I said, listen, I can't make you those promises. I will take you. You're qualified. You've got a great resume. Whether you commute or whatever the case may be, and I can tell you that I will fight for you to keep you. And thanks to the legislature, you guys have always been gracious enough to grant me waivers for, whether I did it for the longest time for paramedics and EMTs. I was doing it every year, I think, for probably 10 years. And then, of course, when COVID hit, we, had to go to everything. But yes, I do, to answer your question.
Okay, and then I guess sorry. Do you think, I know that you were able to come in here, and I think all the department heads, we had this thing for a while, this residency restriction, but people would come in and we would give them the waivers when they asked for it. Do you think that just the uncertainty of having to get the waiver, or the uncertainty of, yes, we did this 2-year moratorium, but that moratorium is going to expire in the summer of '24, do you think just even allowing it to happen, but there still being this thing out there of a potential residency requirement, that, I think you're saying, that is hurting your...
That is a deterrent within itself. They know that there's a sunset. There are no guarantees. And it is, although people are calling us, we were very grateful to receive very good contracts for almost every one of our bargaining units. And now it's kind of a department that people are looking at like, hey, I know you're hiring. I live wherever, Essex County or Delaware County, do I have to move there? And, well, yeah, you have to move there. There is a residency requirement. Right now we have a waiver. I use the end of this year. Some people will be like, well, I live in an apartment, no big deal, I'll come. But other people, you're moving your family, everything with a little bit of uncertainty that, you couldn't have a job in 10 months or whatever. And it's hard, and that usually ends that conversation.
I'm sorry, I swear this is my last question. I know, do you find that the residency requirement is putting downward pressure on the standards of the department?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Unequivocally.
Sean?
I would like just clarification. Didn't our resolution, the general resolution, state that they never have to move in Walden?
That's correct, as I
That-
recall.
Anybody-
that is different.
Only during that 2-year period. So those people, as long as they come in during that 2-year period, not the sheriff's original waiver that was
Right,
granted.
I know, but
but
we
the-
changed it,
yep,
so if they're hired within that 2-year period, they never.
They never have to.
They never have.
So they're covered, you're covered now.
To bring somebody in right
You can
now,
bring
That
somebody
was my
in right now, they're never required to move.
Yeah, that was the understanding.
that's on the global one, right? Because that's
on the-
not on
That's the-
mine.
yeah,
No, it
that's
isn't on
just the
yours,
global
it's on the
Okay,
global.
okay.
And I think that's fair and the way it should be.
Yeah.
Although I know our current.
They don't have to move in the county, no.
And because,
Go ahead. Go ahead. Rick, right.
because that is true, it seems like that he and his people are covered until August, at which time it sounds like this is a report where you're saying that it does make a difference to you and it impacts you greatly in your standards and qualifications for the job, but yeah, so that's all I'll say.
Yeah, they're covered to get hired, but they're also covered not to have to move in the county.
Correct, for 2
On the big, yeah, mine does.
Forever.
The one that I have doesn't have that, but yes.
Yeah, the general one covered.
You're covered by the other, right now, you can hire.
So
somebody
listen, I
tomorrow.
don't, you can table it, do whatever you want with it. I just want to keep the conversation going because it's essential that we do something with it,
Oh, it's
you know?
awareness right now.
Yeah, no.
I'm not on the committee, but if everybody else, I just wanted to make a comment, because I'm very familiar with my town's police department. And I think Craig would tell you that a lot of guys from the county have gone over to Colony, because it's, you know, good department, pays well, all that kind of stuff. They're having tremendous trouble getting people, so much so that they're taking some action to change some of their stuff, one of them being residency requirement. And that, I think you would agree, Sheriff, would be unheard of for Colony.
Yeah.
They usually have lists of, you know, miles long. As you know, Rebecca, you're very familiar. So I'm only saying that this is a real issue. It's a real problem for police departments. And public safety, I've said it before, it's gotta be one of our number one issues to keep people safe. And we have to, you know, we have to staff dispatchers, emergency personnel. So I think that, you know, I feel very strongly that this is probably something that a lot of other departments too are gonna have to go through too, because they can't get people. When you said you have 71 vacancies, is that right? Or-
Correctional, I believe it's 70, and
Yeah, and I
deputies
speak that for the
are
jail
21.
too, you know, I mean, all aspects, it's a real problem.
Thank you for correcting
Thank
me.
you.
No problem. I'll correct you next time too. You know you're a lawyer.
Craig, under the new contract, what is the starting salary for a sheriff's deputy?
$50,000.
$50,000. Sitting around reading the newspaper with my wife Sunday morning, and they had a law enforcement recruitment page, and now that everybody's got to, well, I guess it wouldn't be subject to this one, but Burlington Police were starting at $72,000. I was shocked.
Yeah. Yeah, listen, it's better than it was 6 months ago. You know, it's a decent contract for them. I certainly don't think it gives away the house by no means.
No.
And that's always been the biggest issue, is we've been a training ground, and our guys have, you know, gotten trained and gotten 6 months on the road and then, you know, jumped to a Colony or Albany or wherever. A lot of that is reversed. Next week, we're hiring a Greene County Sheriff and Schenectady County Sheriff. So, you know, now, you know, because of the wages and the difference, people are looking to come. And I just, A, I want to make sure they're protected, which now clearly they are. But B, I would like to continue that because the folks are not signing up. I know we were talking about the state police having 10,000 folks registered. But A, it's a lot easier for them too if you're taking their exam. You just walk in off the street and you take it on a computer now at different places stationed throughout the state. So it's not like you're all showing up at the convention center of Albany and taking it, or in Buffalo Convention Center, wherever. So they have a different way of administering their examinations. We have been lucky here in Albany County where, regarding corrections, we lobbied them for the longest time for the state to do the same thing that you do for the state COs, and that's pretty much something similar where you go on the computer, fill out an application, have a GED in your name, and you're going to pass the test. And then if you have some security experience or whatever, obviously it starts to go up incrementally. But, you know, we have to start looking at some different opportunities. Michael Alley's been great working with us, but again, a lot of it comes down to that residency where I'd love to be able to take some guys from different agencies. I mean, I hate to go out and poach, but we've been poached for, 40 years. Now it's, it's kind of like we got to continue to, I need to make sure that we have enough, our shifts are covered and our ambulances are staffed and our dispatcher seats are filled.
I just had a story of a gentleman who was sworn in. I went to a swearing-in guy went through the academy, and I saw him out with a different police uniform on, which is not unusual.
Mm-hmm.
But it was like, I didn't even think he was out of the
Yeah.
academy yet. He said he was recruited by another agency, higher paying agency, obviously, at the academy. He said
Yeah.
that used to be, that wouldn't
Yeah.
be done before.
It's a lot of money that
They
gets
said- They said
wasted.
it's very common.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot of money there. That's why we have to continue. I continue to fight for them to try to get their wages up and give them the best working conditions we can. And, you know, we do have a state-of-the-art 911 center. We've got some of the best equipment out there. But a lot of it does circulate as well with the wage.
There's a lot of room for advancement.
Yes, a lot.
To a lot of different programs.
Go ahead.
I guess I'd like to make a motion that we table this for the time being, in full support of it, since you are covered till maybe like June, March. And in the course of the conversation, when we're discussing with the rest of the department heads about if we're gonna, what we're gonna do to revisit that, is that?
We can hold that to Murphy.
Yeah, I just want to say quickly, I just want to go on the record as saying, in this economic environment, and because there's such a major disparity between what the state pays and how many more positions the state have, and the much more, extensive promotion career ladder, I think specifically for the sheriff, but overall, we need to get away with this residency requirement. We have downward pressure with maintenance, and then we have the exacerbation of recruitment. And we're not going to be able to change our salary structure. So on a triage basis, we really need to be able to get qualified people, and it shouldn't be a barrier for residency. So I want to go on record as saying we need to open this thing up.
Yeah, we talk a lot about job recruitment and retention. We'll talk more about it on the next item. But this is a barrier to getting hires, there's no question about it. And I feel like we need to go for the permanent allowance that they can go to out of county. And I wonder if our committee is willing to do that tonight.
I would move that.
I think we already have a motion.
But I was
Vote it down.
to Len's motion, why would you table it? Do you think something's going to change between now and 2 months from now?
Let's see.
Just because they're all gonna, the whole county's gonna expire in August, and we had asked for some reports, and then we might have more data to make a decision than right at this moment, although as I've said, I support the idea. So
I don't know when you.
I support the idea myself, but we passed a resolution back last August, was it? And we said that we were gonna look at everybody as a whole. We were gonna get reports from every individual department and do it as a whole. And, sheriff is covered under that. I'd like to hold it, with you knowing that, I know the issue, the support, the kind of support where you're going with it, but, we have a whole county to look at. We have a policy that affects the whole county. We gotta look at it, so I don't mind holding it, as long as the sheriff's covered to hire people now.
My just concern, Sean, is
We're 11 months away.
people want to know, they're looking down the road, they want to know that they're not going, the policy's not going to change.
Well, it isn't gonna change for those that are being hired now.
But this is running out, though.
August, next August.
My resolution runs out the end of this year,
That's what I thought.
but the global one for the whole county is into next year at some point, summer.
It affects
Um,
future hires after August, not any
Yeah, I
hires till
understand their
August.
grandfather, but I think the
It's still a
perspective
children
for
first.
people to say, Albany County is open to out-of-county people. I think that's a very important thing that we have to establish if we're going to get better hires.
Why don't we do some, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, so we have the resolution that, for sort of the omnibus, right? And that expires, I believe, in August. We're supposed to get a report, as I said, 90 days before the expiration date for that, from all the department heads about their assessment of it. But here we have a department head who's telling us that for his department, it would be beneficial immediately to get rid of this requirement permanently for the sheriff's department. I am inclined, for all the reasons that the sheriff has described, to second your motion and to get rid of the residency requirement, to abolish it for the sheriff's department now. If there is any, if it would help the sheriff with recruiting and retaining the personnel that contribute to public safety in Albany County, to do this now, I don't see the reason to wait. And I also think if there's any possibility of waiting and creating any sort of uncertainty about it, and I realize that the people are grandfathered in, so maybe it shouldn't create the uncertainty, but if there's, why not do it now? What are we gonna learn in June or July that we don't know right now.
Would we have to amend our resolution that we already passed in order to do that?
No, this would essentially supersede it as being closer in time, and
I thought the other
More
one
specific.
superseded
Yeah,
this one.
the other one superseded.
Preempted this one.
Yep, the later one from August-ish, 2022 superseded the sheriff's waiver because it applied to the entire county for that 2-year period. However, anything this committee did now would supersede that in addition, at least for the portion that we chose to supersede.
Right, it's
And we
later
would
in
make that
time.
clear.
But the sheriff's department is still covered in full until August of next year, 2024.
Well, Sean, as you know, we were around when this thing all first started, and I was in favor for the thing with the commissioners and stuff.
Me too.
But since then, it's got out of hand, we all see that. What about if we did something like this? Everything you say is true, I think we're all in favor. Why don't we wait one more month, as a committee, we reach out to the department heads, see how they feel about it, and next month we make a decision, either abolish it or keep it? Is that fair enough?
Well, I think the original resolution had a timetable for that. It's a little bit, I think it was 90 days before expiration. So that is gonna happen down the road.
Yeah, but that's down the road, but we can do something more sooner if we did it now. We
I
make
mean,
a
we're still
final
covered.
decision next month.
We're still covered in full until August of next year. So we could address this, in the springtime, if you want to do it a little early.
Yeah, but like most, I
I'm
think,
not against this at all. I know the sheriff's department very well, and I know the dilemma of every other business in municipality. I get it, but labor markets change, and the rule was in place for a reason back in the day. And I don't expect that to change between now and August of next year, and I'm probably inclined to extend that for a long way, but forever is forever.
Well, but the permanent, you could change the permanent resolution, quote unquote.
Right.
In 3 years, we could reverse it if that would be.
I always like to expedite a little faster, and I think another month or, and come up with a final decision, what we want to do, waive the other one. If that's our feeling, and that's the whole body's feeling. I think the word here, most of the people seem to want to get rid of it.
Just one last comment from
Go ahead,
me.
Murphy.
If I'm coming in now, and I know I have maybe at least 10 more years of active duty, then the fact that I have a 2-year moratorium, but it's not guaranteed after that, is problematic for me. I need to know coming in today that 10 years from now, I'm still gonna be
No,
okay.
you're
It's
still-
guaranteed, you're
That's
good.
guaranteed.
It's like if your son wants to work for the county in 10 years.
So if I come in
roll
now,
off,
yeah,
you're
I'm
good.
Put a grandfather provision.
It's in our minds, it's in our conception, it's in his conception. We know it, we understand it, but the people who are applying for jobs might not necessarily know that they have to live in a certain place, and now they don't. So if they want to be a sheriff's correctional officer, they just apply for the job.
As long
Right
as
now,
that's on
they
the
can't.
announcement, okay.
Yeah,
Right.
so.
So,
There is a motion on the table, so you don't
table,
have to like
that's right.
Wait a second.
Have your second table?
vote it down or move on.
There's a motion to the table, it's second by Sean.
What's the motion again?
And would this be for 1 month?
Fine.
Okay.
So the motion is to table the sheriff's request for 1 month and come back to it next month.
And in the meantime, council and staff would reach out to the other departments to expedite the timeline for.
As well as the members on the committee can reach out to. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed to that? So next month we'll finalize it.
Listen, I just want to keep the conversation going because,
You kept it going pretty good tonight, Sean.
trust me, I'm losing shrimp as I sit here in Green Island, all right?
Pretty good.
Well done.
I just wanted to give you that.
I know, I appreciate that. So you want me to come back next month with, a breakdown of
More
who's
likely
in,
you're
who's
back
out?
anyway.
Or
You're back every month anyway, so.
Well,
Well, you can just send it to
Yeah,
me and
we don't need-
we'll circulate.
we don't need all the department heads to physically come in. Maybe
No.
they could give us a report and we
Yeah,
can.
good
talk about
contact
that.
from, yeah.
All right. Thank you, appreciate you.
Thank you,
Thank
Sheriff. Thanks, Sheriff.
And then back to item 3 is authorizing a one-time retention stipend for non-union employees of Albany County, amending the 2023 Albany County budget. Commissioner Riley.
Commissioner, thank you for coming back 2 months in a row.
Yep, Chairman, members of the committee. Nothing has changed from our side on this proposal, so I guess we're open to any questions or comments.
Any questions on the? Go ahead, sure.
Thank you. I just found out this week, I was talking to a county employee, and they were a supervisory role
Okay?
in the union, and they said they did not get the bonus. So were there members of the union who did not get the bonus?
No.
There's no bargaining agreements that you've passed that didn't have some form of bonus involved, and those with lower bonuses had bumps to the salary built in that were part of their salaries.
Okay, but that's not the same thing. I'm
No, but
saying
everyone
$3,000
got at least some bonus. The amount of the bonus was balanced by the amount of other things they got.
Right, they were 1,500, 2,500, 3,000.
That went to base.
And I provided that
which
to the
means that
committee, I
then
believe,
you-
4 or
that
5 years ago.
builds as opposed to just being a one-time bonus.
Yeah.
Well, not everyone then got exactly the same deal, which was the $3,000 bonus.
I provided that information
provided all that
before
information in our
the last
conversations.
meeting.
How many of those folks, how many are there that are union employees that did not get a $3,000 bonus?
There's a spread anywhere between $500 bonus up to $3,000 or $2,500.
3,000. The
3,000.
vast majority
So-
were 2,500 or 3,000. The telecommunicators were the 500, and they received probably more than $3,000 to their base on top of the percentage increases.
So there was some discretion as to how individual employees were treated, even within the union.
There was not discretion, there was negotiation in good faith.
Ultimately, there's a decision-making process after the negotiations. With non-union employees, there's no give and take. And all 622 are being treated equally, in that they're all getting $3,000 bonuses, is that correct?
Right.
Irrespective of what their personal circumstance might be.
Well, it didn't go down to the individuals, it was bargaining units.
Well, not for the 3,000, right?
Say again?
Not for the 3,000.
Well, for any one given bargaining, we just, for lack of a better term, we basically treated the non-unions like their own bargaining unit as well as, all the union groups. So they would get the same in their collective group, just like everybody who's in, Council 82 at the Sheriff's Department as a deputy or as law enforcement. They were all treated exactly the same. The COs were all treated exactly the same in that group.
I was only confused, you said bargaining units, and maybe.
No, and I said for lack of a better term, because obviously the non-unions are not a
That
bargaining
was
unit,
what was
yes.
confusing.
Yeah.
Just to clarify, did you just say that the 2,500 or the range of bonuses, the signing bonuses for the competitive bidding, those go on their base to raise their?
No.
Okay, okay.
No, the other pays
Sorry.
that they got in exchange for a lower
Okay.
signing bonus or lower bonus, whatever
They
they call it.
negotiated the bonus down in exchange for having it go to the base
Okay.
instead.
Whether it was
Thank you.
a higher, uniform allowance, whether it was, boot allowance, a hazardous duty lineup pay, different things.
Okay, I just misheard, thank you.
It was give and take, that's why I've stressed that the union negotiations are different than the non-union, because there's give and take in the union negotiations. What was the give and take in the non-union deal? Because we know what the give is, that's $3,000 for everyone, irrespective of how productive they are as respective employees. So what is the take that you got given?
The desire for this request, it wasn't about a give and a take, it was, we took roughly what was a benefit given to the majority of the county workers and said the non-union should also get that, because historically here in Albany County, we always have the non-unions follow the unions in terms of percentage increases every year, things like that.
Since our administration.
Since, yes.
So what are the substantive steps you're taking? Because we're talking about retention, okay? And money is just one aspect of retention. I've been through this before. Do I like my boss? Do I get along with my coworkers? What are the advancement opportunities? Am I being recognized? Am I making a difference? What role did those other important principles play in the negotiations? And what is the result of those negotiations?
Well, there were no negotiations with this group. It was a matter of consistency.
So what about the union negotiations? If retention is really the critical issue here, and we know retention is, there's a half a dozen principles that matter in retention, how are we changing our behavior with respect to all those principles other than pay?
Well, I mean, we do that every day. That's the entire purpose of having an HR department. That's why we instituted an equity agenda. All of these things are, things that we do over time to make sure that employee morale and things of the non-monetary things that you're mentioning are coming into play. But respectfully, given the very long conversation you just had with a separately elected, it's kind of hard to raise morale when you have massive vacancy lists and people are doing they're extended. So for us, we were simply being consistent in trying to build a system where everybody's on the same playing field, at least from this aspect, while we continue to work on those other things. There was no negotiation with this group. It was a matter of, this is how things shook out during negotiations. We are not the Director of Employee Relations. So for each bargaining unit, I cannot tell you how the negotiations went. If you'd like to bring the Director of Employee Relations down here so we can go through each individual unit that you've already voted on and passed unanimously, we can go through those details. But this is simply a matter of being consistent and fair, which is another way to retain
Well,
employees.
let's talk about fairness. You have 622 employees, somebody's number one, and somebody's 622. They're all getting the same. Is that your definition of equity and fairness? Because that's not my definition of those things.
Okay? I appreciate your opinion on that.
And we want,
Well, by definition, equity and fairness
we
aren't
heard
the
all
same
this
thing,
last
but-
month too.
Yeah.
Dustin, you got something to say?
I mean, not really a question, but maybe, not this meeting, but maybe next we could have someone come in and give a brief lesson on how unions work. Some of my colleagues,
That won't be
May not
me, I'm
approve
not an expert in
collective
that regard,
bargaining.
but if you have someone, by all means, I'll send them in.
certainly can find, Albany's
Everybody
a
was
union
union,
town,
we
I'm
had
sure we
this
can
problem.
find more than a few experts to come in here.
Go ahead, Liz.
Am I allowed to read a statement from Matt Miller?
You certainly
Oh,
can.
it was handed out to everyone.
Everybody does.
We got it?
All right. Did everybody get it? When this item first came to the floor, several questions were posed to me at the very last minute as the co-chair of the Labor Outreach Task Force. Since that time, extensive research and dialogue has occurred that sufficiently resolved for me any questions or concerns that have arisen initially on this matter. I fully support the recruitment and retention bonuses for non-union employees, and I want them to know that I appreciate greatly all of their efforts day in and day out for Albany County and its residents. I also appreciate their patience as we went through good legislative practice and due diligence on this matter. While not on this committee, I urge the members to support a positive recommendation on moving this item. Matthew Miller.
Mr. Chairman, can I just ask this question?
You can ask anything you want, you've been asking all night. Keep
Okay,
going.
great. This was tabled on the floor.
We all did this all last month, but we're just back for some mysterious reason, we're back here again.
Why, yeah, my
It's
question
beyond
is,
me.
why is it tabled? Why was it tabled?
My understanding,
know.
it was sent back to committee at the request of your caucus.
Well, but it's the chairman and the legislature that tabled it during the
At the
floor, on the
request
floor of
of
the
your
legislature.
caucus was my understanding. He just referred it back to committee, and my understanding was that was at the request of,
We didn't request it.
okay, well then maybe it was done in error,
Well, then I'd
but
like
in
to
any
make a
event, here
motion
we
to
are.
move it forward with
We
a positive
already did,
recommendation.
we already talked about it
Again.
last month.
We did it all last month. Here we are back again.
I'll second it.
Yes, take a vote. Well, they know they gotta be in favor or against. How many in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, I'm in favor of moving it to the floor with the hope that there's going to be more debate on the floor, but that's where I stand right now, so.
Okay. You're the ones who want to ask the questions though, right? What's the debate?
Yeah,
Based on the issues I just raised.
Quick question.
Yes, go ahead, Ray.
What, do we know roughly, and I don't expect you to know this, but if you do, each department has a highest paid employee and then there's a supervisor above that. Is it, do you know what the compression is between the highest paid, say, represented employee and their?
And that, we'd have to do an analysis, Lowell
Yeah.
County, there's somewhere in some of the union contracts, we literally settled the contract and now said, well, in the budget, we're gonna have to give some non-union raises in this department because we've now eliminated the compression.
Right, so but the
Whereas other-
representative received it, this is giving a flat rate across the board is a compression pay almost. It's raising everybody else up at an equal rate, even though I get what you're saying as far as top performers and less top performers, but this is, you're just raising the entire. So, I get it.
Go ahead, you
Okay.
got a question?
Yeah, so, we talked about this last month, but, so, these, like, 600 or so employees, is that what you said that?
Correct.
For the $3,000 bonus, they're not union employees. Does that mean that are their general salary increases on a year-to-year basis, are those more, is that process more personalized to each individual employee because they're not union employees? So
So-
that their compensation for these 600 people is a function of how well they're performing as individuals in their jobs?
I mean, certainly each department has some discretion during budgetary negotiations, but at the same time, so the answer is a little bit more complicated. So when the county executive came into office, and I remember this because I was here on day 3, for better or worse, the non-union folks basically had been stagnant for an extended period of time. So, and that's not saying nothing happened, I'm just saying that they had lagged behind. So the process began that during the negotiations with the collective bargaining units and new contracts, that we generally tried to reflect in our budget proposals what was reflected in as an average of all of the outcome of the collective bargaining agreements, if that makes any sense. So they're not the same, that's the problem, but you can have a general, okay, well, 2% or something like that. So we tried to reflect that, and then of course, there's also some discretion within each department, of the department heads, if there's a unique circumstance that, you know, the scalpel, so to speak, that they need to have more attention to, you know, a certain group of people or something of that nature, that all funnels through the commissioner, and that's what the budget proposal that you get is.
Okay.
The bottom line is the county executive does this on his own. No merit in ability, just something he does. It's been that practice, he's been in here, and it's worked so far. It has nothing to do with the unions, nothing to do with merit and ability or who's qualified. It's non-employee union, non-union members are gonna get a raise, a bonus.
Right.
It's a one-shot thing, don't affect their base, none of that.
Correct. In this case, that's
Is that the
correct.
bottom line?
That's correct.
Thank you. Anybody opposed? Oh, go ahead, Fran, I'm sorry.
Okay, I mean, I work in the private sector and I have most of my career. So I have a different opinion. I understand this. I mean, I really think it's, what helps to motivate people and to get them to work is if you do reward people for their performance. I mean, I'm the recipient of someone who was given a nice large raise due to my performance. And that really motivated me, and I think that's good. I can still remember as a college kid working in a department store that was a closed shop. It was a union shop. And one summer, everybody got a 10-cent raise. And I went to my manager and I said, are you kidding? Bergdorf got a 10-cent raise? I worked circles around him. He got as much as I did.
Yeah, we told you 10, he actually got a quarter.
Yeah, he probably did.
I had to give 5 cents back.
So, I
though.
mean, I remember that. So I understand exactly where Mark's coming from. The other thing is we did discuss like a clawback provision. Is there any way of doing, this is a retention bonus. So if we're retaining people, is there any way, I don't know if we can do this in public employment or in the county, if there can be any type of clawback provision. In private industry, you can do that. In government, I don't know. But, I mean, there were some people that appeared to entertain the idea of a clawback. So is that something that can be done or not? Is it just impractical for government?
Well, to be clear, just to clarify the record, this has been voted on.
As far as, we're talking about for the motion now?
Yes, for
Okay,
this,
all right,
I
so
mean,
then
you can
it's-
talk about, you can certainly raise that at the.
All right, well, all right, I can always
legislative
bring it
meeting.
up.
Well, I have a question. So we had a discussion earlier tonight about the problem with hiring employees, getting rid of residency requirements. And you're suggesting, should we institute something that takes away wages someone has been paid if their performance falls? And so we're
In private industry, absolutely. I mean, if a
That's
person,
very
I mean,
weird.
you reward the person for their performance at their job. And if they're excelling at their job, then they should be paid a better wage or given a better bonus than someone who is not absolutely 100%.
Yeah, but you're talking about taking away money that's been paid in a.
Well, no, what I'm talking about is if you're saying this is a retention bonus, so I'm gonna retain you, and I want you to stay, you're a good employee, and I wanna keep you for a year. So therefore, I'm gonna say to you, all right, we're gonna give you this $3,000 bonus, but it's a retention bonus. As long as you stay here for 6 months, you get the full bonus. If you leave before that, then there's gonna be a clawback, we're gonna take some of that back. So this is an incentive for you to stay 6 months.
Doesn't sound like an incentive.
Isn't that usually paid at the end of the 6 months?
I'm sorry?
Usually that's paid at the end of the 6 months.
That could-
It's
that could
unusual
be-
to give people money and then say you didn't stay for 6 months and take it back.
Or you can pay a portion of it in
sorry.
advance and
No, I
the
know.
balance you pay at the end, you could do that as well.
Okay, the bottom line is, no matter what the county executive did, he did it. If you guys are opposed to it, if the full memberships of, a few members are opposed at the next meeting, vote it down. It's a very simple thing. It's a yes or no. It's 3,000 non-employees, non-union members. Anybody opposed to this?
We already voted on it.
Motion
already
to
voted.
adjourn.
We're all set. You just have to-
Is that other than your, what you're voting on the floor?
Explanation, yes.
She's gonna vote on the floor.
I'll second that.
Okay, we'll take a motion to adjourn.
We did.
Thank you very much.
Second.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.